Hi, my name is Madeline Peterson. I currently live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and during the day, I'm an audiology assistant, so I help patients that need help troubleshooting problems with their hearing aids, cochlear implants, things like that. In the evenings, I'm an artist, but I'm also a writer. And so I've been working on several short stories over the last few years that just kind of give snippets into my life and kind of the healing that I've experienced through times that I've spent in nature. And so today I'll be reading Falls of Neuse, which is a piece I wrote about a day that I spent on the Falls of Neuse River in Raleigh. And I wrote this piece specifically as a demonstration of kind of coming out of a really hard time in my life, struggling with addiction and substance use, and kind of going back to my roots. As a child, I spent a lot of time outdoors and spent a lot of time with family on lakes and rivers, fishing. And so for me, this is really demonstrative of healing that I have found by kind of going back to my childhood a little bit and introducing those aspects back into my life as an adult and how it's really helped, over the last few months. So I'm going to go ahead and read the piece for you. Falls of Neuse. I found myself hiking for a short while, mumbling to the birds and pondering the day, when I came upon a small clearing where the conditions were favorable. A handful of large rock formations emerged slightly from the surface of the river, and the trees did not lean too far over the river's edge. I wove through a narrow, thorn bush-ridden pathway and out into the open space. It was early spring, and I knew the white bass were biting. I had barely finished tying a small caddisfly on the line when the beat of blue heron wings cut through the quiet morning air. He landed a few yards away on a downed tree that bridged between the embankment near a large rock that had been smoothed over and polished by the cold river rapids. The heron navigated the rotting branches meticulously until he reached the rock form and came to a calculated stop. Water rushed around the rock, and its disposition created a small eddy, a common resting place for trout and bass. The pools made fishing conditions favorable for the heron and myself alike. I admired his stature and filmed him briefly as he stood unwavering, peering into the eddy below. Periodically he would flinch, as if the temptation of a catch was too great, but the moment was not quite right. After a short while, I stood to my feet and began casting. The rhythmic sway and flick of my wrist caught the attention of the heron, and he watched as the caddis floated back and forth through the air before settling into an eddy and swirling in its wake, taunting whatever lay beneath. He remained in poised observation, and only as I sat for a rest did his focus return to the swirling concurrent below. I watched him intently, gathering my thoughts. A few months had passed since I had last stepped onto the river, and as I crouched upon the rocks, I was reminded of the peace that accompanied me in this place. The heron and I took turns in this way for what seemed like a couple of hours, but soon the sun grew higher and increasingly more indomitable above us. The heron, having more success than I, lunged forward and took off into the air. With several flaps of his wings, he disappeared over the tree line and out of sight, leaving the world eerily still and quiet in his absence. Thank you.